Hey, I'm your host, Dr. Desiree Cassell. I'm an orthopedic and pelvic floor physical therapist specializing in women's health, aka pelvic floor. I'm a wife, mom of 3, foodie, lover of all things movement and nature, and I'm super passionate about educating, empowering, and supporting other women like you to find and maintain balance throughout all aspects of their lives, without pain, pressure, or peeing their pants. And this is the Balanced Momtality Podcast, where we will talk about all things pelvic floor, your core, and optimizing your pregnancy, birth, and postpartum recovery, providing you with the knowledge and tools so that you can feel like the strong, playful, and happy mom that you and your family deserve. Now let's get you out of those pads and back to loving movement. Fill up your water, pop in those AirPods, roll out your mat, and let's connect. Before we start today's episode, just a quick disclaimer that anything mentioned in this podcast is not meant to treat or diagnose any medical conditions. If you have any questions or concerns about your healthcare needs, please seek the care of your medical provider. This is also a safe space where we will be talking about very sensitive but important topics, such as issues with peeing and pooping, relationships, and even sex. So if you have littles around, probably a good idea to pop those AirPods in. But otherwise, I hope you enjoy today's episode. Hey, it's Dr. Des here on Pelvic Floor, Core, and More, aka the Balanced Momtality Podcast. We are still adjusting and rebranding here. It is a transition, that's for sure, but be on the lookout for some new cover art coming up in the future and new intro music. I just have not had the time to necessarily put in all of that extra work for the rebranding because I have been working behind the scenes really hard on my Pelvic Floor, Core, and More app. If you have not already, go download it. It is in app stores now and it is free, and there are so many awesome tools in there that you can use for free. And then if you want, you can check out my Restore program inside the app. It is a 12-week program and you get that first week free. There is a pelvic floor masterclass for pelvic floor 101. You get a 5-minute pelvic floor workout where you just hit start and show up and do whatever I say, taking that guesswork out. And then if you feel that the rest of that content would benefit you, jump all in on this 12-week program. Guys, I can't tell you how much juicy stuff is squished inside of this program. It was really just supposed to be an 8-week program, but if you know me at all, I do try and cram in all the things for you, and I couldn't leave it at 8 weeks. There was just more information that I wanted to add in, and so it is now a 12-week program, and right now with my first beta cohort, we're on week 11. I can't even believe it. It's going to be finishing up here soon. And so a new launch, a new cohort is coming in, and I cannot wait for that to be you. If you have any questions about what that program looks like, please reach out. My contact information is in the show notes below. And also go download Pelvic Floor, Core, and More. Check out that free trial of the Restore program and get a sense for yourself. But there's also some awesome tracking features in there and stuff just to help keep you accountable. But if you want access to the private community and private group coaching calls that happen weekly, then that's where you want to jump in on that Restore program so that you can get more individualized feedback and guidance and have more structure as you navigate restoring and healing your pelvic floor, core, and more. Because yes, in that program Restore, I'm also looking at restoring the upper body. We're looking at restoring the lower body, connecting that whole kinetic chain, and then getting you all the way back into running and impact and higher level core movement. So again, so many good things inside there. Go check it out if you haven't. Download it if you haven't. It is free. And I would love to hear from you if there's some aspects that you would like included in that app, because I am growing this out and I would love it to be the most beneficial pelvic floor and whole body women's health resource hub for you. So what do you want in it? I want to know. Send me an email or reach out to me on Instagram. And with that being said, if you're not already, go find me on Instagram and give me a follow so that you can stay up to date and also get new tips and tricks as they come out. This podcast is where I give all the juicy details, but over on my socials, you get more details on workshops and fun new tips and tricks that aren't necessarily worth a whole podcast episode. But I am so excited because last week, we launched the 100th episode of the podcast, which I still can't believe. And today, while I'm recording this, it has officially been 2 years since I started this podcast. And if you want to know more about my journey, go listen to last week's episode where I really shared my thoughts, my process, my journey to becoming a podcaster. Is one of my many titles, right? Because I also am a business owner and a clinician and a physical therapist and a mom and a basketball player and a weightlifter and a friend and so many things. I have so many passions and loves, and this podcast is definitely at the center of that. It has been so special to build these connections all over the world, and the podcast can sometimes feel like you're talking to a void, right? I'm just right now sitting in my office between patients in a deep squat, talking to a wall with a mic in between, right? And just hoping and praying that you guys are listening and that those who need this content are finding it. But it doesn't hurt to get a little help from my tribe. So if you're not already following and subscribe to my channel, please do. Please scroll down and leave me a 5-star review and share in your socials and tag me because we are still in the giveaway period for my 100th episode / 2-year anniversary, where I am giving away a full ride tuition to my 12-week restore program. This is over a $1,500 value, so you're not going to want to miss it. Make sure to tag me and just share in your stories on social media. Tag the Balanced Momtality on Instagram or Facebook, and I'll make sure to enter you in to win. And I'll tell you, my tribe is not giant, so the chances of you winning are pretty high. So with that being said, just any amount of feedback you guys give me, whether it's sharing or sending me a DM on Instagram or an email, just saying how this has impacted you or how it's helped you, or if you have questions and need more support, I love to hear it. So please let me know. I was just so thrilled. I had a woman reach out to me and just in tears telling me how grateful she was that she found my podcast because she had done pelvic PT before, got some improvement, but wasn't fully back to where she wanted to be. And she just overall was, she's across the world, which I think is so cool. And I have a few people that have reached out recently, even within, our country, which is awesome. But to get the people across the world reaching out and just telling me, you get it. And I was so thankful I found your show because you get it. And I feel like you're the missing piece that I need in my life. And that just really touches me. And I am so, so blessed and honored to be that person for you and to be in your ear a little bit each week. So again, thank you, thank you, thank you. And with that being said, today's episode is kind of just a fun, easy, tactical one because I know all of us moms especially are so busy and it is so hard to fit in workouts and make that time for ourselves. And sometimes we are really multitasking and trying to see how can I just squeeze this in without actually working out, right? That would be a dream. And while these tips I'm going to give you today aren't going to 100% heal you or get you to your goals, and they might, and that's awesome, but these are just the things I want you guys to be thinking about on those busy days where you really had no time for yourself. But know that if this is all you're doing, it's probably not going to be enough. And we need to reassess how you're prioritizing your time and where we can actually fit in a more structured routine for you that's sustainable. And that's where I come in. I help coach you in that and build that in so that it is a sustainable routine and lifestyle habit that you can show up for consistently. And it's going to look different each day depending on your energy, your time, your responsibilities, right? Like there's a lot that goes into this. Sick kids, there's so much out of our control. And that's why I think it is so helpful to have a list like this. So today we are talking about 10 ways you can sneak in pelvic floor exercises for those busy mamas that really don't have the time all the time, right? And I'm here with you too. There's days where I don't make it to the gym or get the walk in that I wanted or get the stretching breathwork routine in that I wanted, but I still want to do something knowing I'm working towards my goals and helping my body. And that's where this list comes in. This was something that I realized, you know what? I'm telling patients these tips all the time because these are things I'm already doing all the time. And I don't really realize that other people don't connect these things. So this might seem straightforward for some, and hopefully it gives even those a few new strategies that they can start incorporating into their day-to-day so that they can sneak in just a little bit more intentional pelvic floor and core work. So let's dive right in. We've got 10 ways to sneak in pelvic floor exercises. So number 1, and these are in no particular order, okay? So this is not to say that number 1 is the best or 10 is the worst or anything like that. And I could have probably come up with so many other things as well, but these are just the top 10 that I feel like I talk about a lot. So number 1 I have is doing pelvic tilts while you're sitting at work. Or honestly, sitting anywhere, right? So I have some specific scenarios in this list, but we can extrapolate, right? If you're sitting down, we can do pelvic tilts. That could be in the car, at work, in a chair at home, right? Anywhere. So pelvic tilts. And if you don't know what pelvic tilts are, that's essentially like a cat-cow movement where you're arching and extending your pelvis, except for we're not bringing that movement up to the spine. This is really trying to isolate that mobility and control in the pelvic girdle. So we think about anterior and posterior pelvic tilts, which is essentially tucking your butt under and sticking your tailbone out to bring that forward and back motion. And this does help with core control. It helps loosen and relax the pelvic floor, especially if you're doing it gently and rhythmically. And I will, again, just encourage to bring your breath work into all of these tips. But with that being said, number 2 is deep breathing whenever you're feeling pain or stress, right? So you don't necessarily have to get down on the floor and do breath work routines or even, think of it as a routine. Anytime you're feeling pain or just anxiety and stress and feeling overwhelmed, I want those 2 things, pain and stress or anxiety, to be a trigger for you to think, I need to take a few deep breaths because 1, the pain is probably causing your body to breathe shallow, go into more of a stressed sympathetic state, causing muscle tension, and you probably have tightness where that pain is. And so if we can use that deep breath to internally come and massage that tightness, it will also calm down the nervous system. And it is just, again, magic, magic, magic. So deep breathing whenever you are stressed or in pain. I hear it a lot when people come in and they're like, yeah, I didn't get anything in. I've just been so stressed and busy. And unfortunately, my response is, ooh, that's the time when you need this breath work the most. And remember, you don't need to be anywhere specific or have any specific tools to do the breath work and deep intentional breathing. You can do it anywhere. So especially when you have pain or stress, or maybe you just noticed you just yelled and snapped at your kids, let's pause and take a nice, slow, deep breath, okay? 3 is ideal, and if we can extend that exhale to last longer than the inhale, meaning your inhale is 4 to 6 seconds, your exhale is 6 to 8 seconds, this will drastically drop the nervous system stress in your body. So focus on that breath work. It is like a Xanax, okay? And it is natural and magic and medicine and amazing. Number 3 is bracing your core whenever you're picking up those babies. And obviously this is when you're picking anything up, but those mamas out there picking up babies and car seats and toddlers, you are doing a lot of lifting. And we can optimize these movements and make them a lifted heavy squat, right? You've already bent down, grabbed that baby, and you're standing up. That is a squat. So let's just make the most out of it by engaging your core brace and then thinking about how you're breathing through it. So make sure you're focusing on inhaling down and exhaling as you pick up that baby or car seat or whatever it is that you're lifting up. So again, just thinking of that brace with any lifting is going to be such a help from preventing issues, especially prolapse and leaking, but it's also a way to strengthen. So again, my philosophy is how we can make everything functionally and exercise-wise that you do a core and pelvic floor workout. Number 4 is baby wearing. Baby wearing is a fabulous tool because yes, we can now have 2 hands and we can get those dishes done and laundry and all the to-do things that we are stressing about when you're stuck in that nap trap on the couch, right? But even better, you now have a weight on you. So engage your brace because yes, this is an effort moment. You are holding something, especially, even if you have a little one, those babies, they're at least hopefully, over 5 pounds. And that's where 5 to 10 pounds can be a decent amount of weight, especially postpartum. So we want to make sure that your body is ready for it and make it a workout. So engage your brace and make sure you don't feel pressure pushing down while you're wearing baby and that baby wearing sling or wrap or carrier isn't digging into your abdomen. We don't want it like a rubber band pushing everything down. We want it to be snug like a hug and not squishing. So keep that in mind, but baby wearing is amazing. And bonus points, you can baby wear and do squats or baby wear and do some deadlifts or baby wear and do bridges or bicep curls, or the list goes on and on, right? This was one of my favorite ways to get in workouts while I was in that early postpartum stage and the baby just napped all the time but didn't want to nap off of me. This worked out awesome. Another one is one I don't give out often just because if you know me and my philosophy at all, I don't necessarily prescribe Kegels. However, I do think it's a great idea to know how to do the different types of Kegels. And then you can also notice if you are having issues with one of those types, and then maybe you would want to focus on them. And so one of the very common places that pelvic PTs used to prescribe doing Kegels was in the car. It's like at every red light, do 30 Kegels. And I kind of laugh at it now because yes, I also prescribed that when I first got my pelvic PT coursework done, but things have changed. And so my care has changed. However, I don't think it's a bad idea on occasion, right? If you're in the car and you're driving, take advantage of that, whether it's breath work, being in your body and catching tension, or doing some Kegels. Just make sure that as you're doing Kegels, you're not feeling things get tighter and tighter, meaning you should still feel an equal amount of drop when you release your pelvic floor in between Kegels and an equal amount of lift up as you engage. If it starts to feel like that drop isn't happening as much or you're not feeling as much of a lift, I would stop and then also end with some deep breathing because chances are things might have tightened up a little bit or got fatigued and maybe did cramp up a little. So deep breath after any Kegel work, but feel free, play around with those Kegels. Just know that if you focus only on Kegels and you're not getting that breath work piece in, you may cause more issues, especially if you ride on the side of tightness and tension. And so if you're unsure, reach out, but also check some past episodes because I've got a lot of good ones helping you identify if you do have some pelvic floor tightness and other strategies you can use to help that. But I do still think Kegels while just sitting around is a great option because especially sitting up, there's weight on the pelvic floor and you can just sit there and strength train and nobody knows. Obviously, this isn't necessarily the way we functionally use this muscle, which is why we do want to go beyond Kegels, but had to add Kegels in there at some point, right? Pelvic floor exercises, Kegels tend to be the main one people think about. And play around with different types of holds, like a light, long hold and strong, quick, fast holds. Those are the 2 types we want to make sure we're getting in. Number 6 is doing things like happy baby or child's pose while you're in bed. Maybe you had a busy day and you're getting in bed and you're like, oh crap, I didn't do anything today. That's where you just pull those legs up into happy baby, or you roll over into child's pose, or even just lying on your side. Bring your knees up and take some slow, deep, intentional breaths. Calm that system down, especially before bed. This is a great time to do this, and it can really help with tension and guarding that you've been holding all day. So again, these breathwork exercises don't have to be this whole big routine. Anything is better than nothing, and we can get a big benefit from little micro exercises like this throughout the day. Number 7, if you have a loop resistance band or a TheraBand that you can tie, we want to place this above your knees on your thighs. This is one of my favorite ways to sneak in core and glute work, because I put this band on at home when I have days I didn't make it to the gym or get a lot of movement in, and I do it in the kitchen when I'm doing dishes or cleaning up or cooking, and I'll just put it on and I'll walk sideways in the kitchen, sidestepping like a crab walk to get in some good abduction work while I'm putting dishes away. Or if I'm standing at the sink or at the counter cooking or cleaning, I'll also do some kickbacks with it. I'll stand there and march with that resistance band. Again, obviously I'm thinking of my brace here and thinking of that breath work with a Kegel on every exhale, because that is how we make everything a pelvic floor and core workout. If I just put the band on and walked around but wasn't thinking of my brace, aka my core, aka my pelvic floor, then it's not a pelvic floor workout, right? Yeah, you might be engaging parts of it through the hip muscles, but you won't be getting the big bang for your buck. So pay attention, engage your brace, and make sure you're bringing that breath work into it. But this can give you a good burn pretty quickly, and it's a great way to sneak in more resistance style training. So again, put that band on and just start moving around your house and you'll feel the burn. Number 8, this is one I love to do. Right now, I am in a deep squat while I record this podcast. And yes, we are 20 minutes in and I am still in a deep squat. I will say I have a support of a bolster beneath me just to make sure that my pelvic floor doesn't have too much pressure, since I knew I was going to be here for a while, and just to make it a little bit more comfortable. But I love to take advantage of a deep squat whenever you're doing something that's low on the floor or in some type of seated capacity. So when baby's doing tummy time, or if you're on the floor folding laundry or changing a diaper, get into that deep squat and take advantage of that stretch in the hips and in the pelvic bowl, and just breathe into it. If you have prolapse or you feel extra pressure when you get into the deep squat, I would come out of it a little, or put a yoga block or stool below you so you do have some external support, or reach out so we can make sure that this is an appropriate position for you. But I do have prolapse and I love the deep squat, but I do make sure I have a little support and that I'm not super rounded and crunched over. My trunk is pretty upright when I'm in this deep squat, and it should feel relaxing, not pinchy or like you're hovering above the floor. If you can't get your heels on the floor, we need to add some support there. But again, deep squat is one of my favorite breathwork positions. It's one of the few that you finally feel a lot of pelvic floor expansion. So give that deep squat a try if you haven't already. Number 9 is a standing march with intention whenever you're carrying your baby or groceries or laundry baskets or really anything. So a lot of my patients and clients have gone over the core march exercise lying down, but we want to think about this standing up as well, because that's functionally how we use those muscles. And this is essentially just walking, but just marching those legs up a little higher with the intention of the brace and the breath. Again, that's how we make it all pelvic floor and core. So we want to bring those pieces in. But if you're holding a baby, especially that baby, it puts weight on one side of the body, which I really like. You know, we could do a typical farmer's carry where you're holding weight on both sides of the body, but that kind of takes the core workout and it makes it a lot more of a trap and upper body exercise. So if we put that weight on one side, say you're holding groceries or a laundry basket, hold it to your center or off to one side, and then just make sure you're switching sides so that you can even out your core. But this is a great way to functionally engage and strengthen your core because, hello, we're already carrying stuff all the time. So let's just put a little intention in it. And if you want to, march those knees up a little higher and get a little bit more out of it. Last but definitely not least is Kegel weights or vaginal weights. And if you haven't heard of these, you're not alone. There are a lot of awesome options out there now, and I don't always prescribe Kegel weights. So this was the last one just because it's not something I recommend to everybody. But I do think they are an amazing way to kind of sneak in pelvic floor workouts because if you are appropriate for a Kegel weight, meaning you don't have tension, tightness, or pain internally, and we're looking more at just weakness and trying to train motor control in that system, we can use things like Kegel weights because you can insert them and then just go about your day. So we start these many times with just standing in place. So I have women do this while they're brushing their teeth, washing their face, or in the shower, and you just have it in for a few minutes until it falls out. And it literally does feel like an egg. It just falls out. Whenever your pelvic floor is fatigued, out it comes. But then we progress. Once you're able to hold it standing there for a little bit, then we put that in and you walk around, do some light cleaning, do your morning routine with the kids, and then you don't even really have to think about it. Your body's just holding this weight and building that resistance and progressive overload. And then we use a lighter weight we use a heavier weight while you're just standing there. So I kind of progress these weights through where you ultimately end up with 3 different sizes. The lightest one you start to end up using during your actual workouts, like during a squat or deadlifting or whatever your upright exercises are. And then that medium weight is used for cleaning or standing, walking around the house. And then that heavier weight is used for standing still. So again, Kegel weights are a great kind of more passive way to strength train while you're doing other things, but it's not appropriate for everybody. Even some anatomy, the pelvic opening is too wide, and I don't want people to feel like they're going to fail because with that anatomy, doesn't matter how strong you are, it's just going to fall out. So if that's you and you've tried it multiple times, it might not be that you're truly that weak. It might be your anatomy. And this is where it's helpful to get that internal pelvic assessment by a pelvic PT so they can help guide you. One, if you're appropriate based on your muscle tone and what your needs are, but also if the anatomy is even going to work out and help you or if it's going to work against you. So that is all 10, and get out a pen and paper, re-listen to this and jot those down if you didn't, because they are so good. Share them with your mom friends and just help me spread the word of all these tips and strategies so that you can just start sneaking in pelvic floor exercises when you're already doing things you're already doing every single day. But again, tag me, post this in your stories, post my show in your stories, and get entered to win a free ride to my Restore program. Download Pelvic Floor Core and More app, and make sure you stay tuned for next week on the Pelvic Floor Core and More podcast with the Balanced Momtality. Well, that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day. I know you've got so many other important things going on, but I hope it was helpful and you leave here with some tools to help you in your healing journey. And I just want to ask you, if you have found this helpful, to please leave a review on iTunes. Scroll down to the bottom of my podcast page and leave that 5-star review so it can help other women see this information. And also, if you want to be a part of my community of amazing women trying to balance all the things, great tips and insight and sharing stories and just motivating each other along the way, feel free to join my Facebook group, The Balanced Momtality Wellness and Support. I hope to see you here next time on the Balanced Momtality podcast.